Mattel is hitting us hard early in this 2026 mainline with Cars 3 Next Gens. I mean, for a while there, it had felt like they were taking a break from Next Gens, as in 2025, Cam Spinner was the only Next Gen single they did. They had the two packs and Cam Spinner, and that was it. For 2026, we're on pace to have about triple the amount of Next Gens in the mainline. It's crazy. I mean, in Case A, we saw the return of Chris Roman. We're seeing the return here of Richie Gunzit. We're going to see the return of Jonas Carvers in Case C. Not to mention the Jim Reverick and Spiky Phillips 2-pack. So already, it's not even January 1st, 2026 yet, and we have some major next-gen returns. I know a lot of you guys are excited about it. Obviously, for me, they're just re-releases at the end of the day, but some of these are a lot more significant than others. As for Richie, his last release was quite some time ago. It was in 2019, so 7 calendar years, basically 7 main lines. So yeah, guys, let's dive in. He is out of 2026 Singles Case B, as I said. I'll leave the link to the unboxing of that case in the description below, and card suggestion pop up in the top right-hand corner. It's a pretty good case for newer collectors of the last few years, but there truly are, I'm just going to be honest, no new releases. But everything is a variant because we're back to producing cars in China. We're going to talk about that more as the video goes on, because if you remember, Richie Gunzit was originally going to be released from China back in 2018. This is a Chinese prototype of him. You can see the code there on his hood. So this will be a great comparison to this new Chinese version that's a lot more akin to the Thailand variant that came out in 2019. And then there's also the Fireball Beach version that snuck out from China before the switch. So there's a lot to kind of talk about here in terms of Richie Gunzit variants. But first off, though, I love his artwork. That's one of the better things about him that he has going. Just a big fan of how it kind of creates a nice contrast off the Red Riders card. This guy's being found across the United States and in other countries. Quite a few stores. There are reports at, I believe, O'Reilly's and AutoZone. So a couple auto parts stores, just completely out of the blue. Kohl's, also completely out of the blue. But where I've found him, and I've actually only just found one. I've only found Case B so far once, and that's Target. And all these other cars are in the case except for Speedy Comet there in the bottom left, but that is the Cars 3 representation they have here. Fabulous Lightning McQueen, Dynaco Cruz Ramirez, Richie himself, which is a rare sight. Usually they're not going to put the car that you're physically holding on the back. So usually that would happen when they have a shortage of Cars 3 characters to throw on the back to fill out the complete 6. And is that true, guys? Have they only released 6 Cars 3 characters so far? I kind of find that hard to believe, but I think that actually might be true. So that's why they had to put Richie there on the back. Yeah, I think that is accurate. You have Hot Rod Smokey, Dirt Track Fabulous Hudson Hornet, and of course Speedy Comet. So I'll be right back with Mr. Gunzit all opened up. Here is Richard out of the package, looking pretty good. There is Richard in the movie. Again, he is a background racer, as we say, for almost all of these, outside of Jackson Cruz, Danny Swervez, Ryan Inside Lenny, Chase Raceland, and Bubba Wheelhouse. Yeah, they're in there for a couple frames in the background. He might have gotten a little bit of a up-close shot than some others, so you'll see that there if that is true. But yes, this will be a really fun comparison because not only do we have his original Thailand release, but we have that Chinese prototype, just like I did for the Chris Roman video from a couple weeks ago. Now, I do want to make it clear, though, that the Chinese Chris Roman was a lot more obtainable as far as canceled cars go, or whatever you want to classify it as, a prototype. I think if we're kind of living in a more binary world, you could say it's a canceled car because it was meant to be released in China, not and then pushed to Thailand. And for Richie, I think it's more true that way because, at least for Chris, he came out, he was the first case from Thailand of singles. Richie didn't come out for a while. He was like spring 2019, so they had already been making cars from Thailand for a good period of time before he actually saw the light of day. So I would consider this a canceled release. But my point is, Chris Roman, a lot more obtainable. Like as far as canceled cars go, that one is a little more common relative to an average canceled car. Richie, a lot less relative to an average canceled car. This was extremely difficult for me to acquire. A couple years ago, I think I finally got it. And it's mostly because he was less deep in the production. As I just said, Chris, was in that first case, so he was ready to go. Richie, not as much, and that is why the only ones that snuck out are coded, whereas none of the ones that snuck out for Chris are coded. So just a couple distinctions I wanted to make there, but these are both made in Thailand. Not Thailand, these are both made in China, which is why this comparison is going to be so fun once we identify what this kind of gook is on my Richie. Can I just scrape that off? It's like some adhesive, coagulated, like an adhesion. Looks like I can get it off, but certainly not ideal. That's kind of gross. Huh, alright. I think I got most of it off there. Crisis averted. So right off the bat here, you're going to see that the new Chinese variant has an eye plate. So that's a plastic piece that is not a part of the main metal body. You do have the black eyeliner now. The eyes are made to look a little bit more animated, which I am fine with, but I don't love the eye plate. I preferred when it was a part of the main metal body. The Gasprin logo there on the hoods, it's a fatter pill now. It's not as thin, not as small. The fonts, especially for gas there, you can see how much thicker the G is. It's kind of interesting. By the way, I do want to point out that the 023 is engraved. The code's now like a Thailand prototype. Those are just stamped. They're not actually engraved. Minor differences there in the mustache, grill, headlights, vents. You do have the yellow splitter, everything pretty similar there. But the hood logo, that is pretty different. He has black wheels. Same thing with Spiky Phillips and Jim Reverick. So, we don't have to place our scorn upon how bad some of the rims can be from Thailand and New China, as we saw a little bit with Chris Roman with that like wave effect. When they don't have to paint them, that flaw is not exposed. The contingency sponsors, Piston Cup Combustor, Carbon Cyber, and Synergy, not great. Also not horrible. Seems like they're a little far left, and that's why like Carbon Cyber kind of gets cut off there. Like the white trim on the left side of the Carbon Cyber box is missing. That's a little strange here. I'm not going to glaze the Chinese ones, but they look better. Like they're smaller, and yet they're crisper. Same thing with this little Gasprin logo down here. I do love kind of the jumping pills there. That's a really cool effect. And they're crisper. Everything's just clearer. The yellow is more vibrant here. Look at the arrow to indicate to the pit crew where to lift him up at to change the tires. The 70 is a little thicker. It just looks like the top one's blurred. It's like my camera's blurred on it. But no, that's just how it looks in real life. You have the gas caps there. More dancing pills here in the back. You have the 70 there on the roof. You have the roof flaps. And the windows are now black instead of the opaque on the Chinese, the original Chinese version, that is. Taking a look here at the wings. Looks like the shades of each color are a little off. It's a lighter blue now. It's a pinky, more pinker magenta, I'd say, than what previously we see here. Gasprin text is thicker and brighter and more vibrant. The 70 is a lot more eligible. So as far as this Chinese version goes, the new Chinese variant is a major decline. But the thing is, and that was true for Chris Roman as well, although there were actually, I don't know, there were a lot of things about the Thailand version of Chris that were better than the new Chinese version, but I think a lot of us agree that the new Chinese versions of Jim Reverick and Spiky Phillips that we just reviewed the other day are better than their Thailand counterparts. So there's a lot of overlap here. There's not a blanket statement that affects everything, but I think the blanket statement is that China, before the switch to Thailand, was the best quality. Now again, we don't bring into like longevity here. I mean, there's not enough data yet. There's not large enough sample size where, 20 years from now, we have a Thailand car, we have a Chinese car from 2018. One looks a lot better than the other one. Maybe the Chinese version is chipping and it's degrading and all that. That's something we won't know for a while. But I think right now we all agree China before the switch to Thailand was the best, because this new China, not great, unless, we're comparing it to a crappy Thailand variant, which there are plenty of. So, basically the bar's been set pretty low. So some of these new China variants have some opportunity within them to really leap ahead of the Thailands of the world. The date stamp here is 2385 EAA, means he was produced on the 238th day of 2025. So, we're coming to the end of the year. Still got a ways to go, but getting into the mid-250s. Now we'll do a little comparison to the Thailand variant of Richie Gunzit, who also has an eye plate, so that's something that is similar between the two of them. Zoomed in a little too far, but we're going to roll with it. I'd say the Gasprin logo on the Thailand version, it's bigger than on the original Chinese prototype here, but still not as big as on this new Chinese version. That all looks pretty similar. I'm curious to see the contingency sponsors here. So you have Thailand on the bottom, New China on the top, and New China is better. I feel like they enlarged some of the decals, like the carbon cyber one, and that looks way better. Combustor looks way better. Synergy's okay. I mean, here, look at that carbon cyber one. That looks horrible. So even though it seems like it's a little too far left and it cuts off a bit of the carbon cyber decal, it's much clearer. Same thing with the Gasprin logo at the bottom. You can also see it's a lot more solid colors. Like you have a solid magenta versus kind of like a grainy, static aesthetic within the stripes here of the magenta. I feel like this is going to be the story for a lot of these reviews that we do. Now, most of them we're not going to have a canceled Chinese prototype to compare to as well. So it's going to be, well, this new Chinese version's actually kind of better than the Thailand version with decals. And maybe some of the ones that don't have as many decals, it'll be the opposite. But Thailand had made some of these decals so dang blurry. Like, what the hell are we doing? That is hard to replicate that. Like, it's going to be easy for China now to make something a little bit better that's still not great, but it's better because the bar was set so low, as I said. Now, I will say here that the Gasprin text on this new Chinese version, again, verifying, that doesn't look as good as the Gasprin text on the Thailand version. It's thinner, doesn't hold up as much as that version. So it's a give and take type of situation that we're working with here. Give and take. This guy was made during the 52nd week, which is the final week of 2018. It's kind of cool. Now, one thing I've always liked about Richie is that the decal on the hood and on the sides too, I mean, it's really noticeable with him. Like, they're raised off of the paint, so you can actually kind of feel each leather. That's something that's not on the Chinese version. It's just flat on the paint there. These decals are actually kind of raised up. Interesting. And then one final comparison I wanted to do is with the Fireball Beach version here. There's not a ton to say. I mean, this is a Chinese version, so it's really not comparable to either of these. More comparable to the canceled one that I was showing you, but still worth including in the video. Like you can see, even with the sand obscuring the decals, they're still clearer. So will you guys be picking up Richie Gunzit? Will you be on the hunt for him? Probably will be one of the more popular ones from the case, along with Hot Rod Smokey. But I don't think any of the next gens that get released this year will be scarce by any stretch of the imagination. If you live in the US, that is. Can't really speak to other regions because distribution's always different. I always found weird that the Fireball Beach version kind of has like a green splitter. Doesn't look yellow really at all. Yeah, if you live somewhere else in the world, you know, I'm sure they'll also not be extremely difficult to find, but might not be as easy here in the US because Target has been loading up on cases as of late. A lot of the Targets around me have gone back to case Y, which is a case that they got in before. Now they're going back to it. I don't know why you don't go back to case X, which is a case that pretty much I didn't find that at all at Target. All my Targets skipped case X, so I don't know. Target's just kind of all over the map right now. They're either getting in case Y or they're getting in case B, 4 cases ahead of it. So it's a crapshoot. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comment section below. You have a lot of Richies to choose from. Which is your favorite? New China, Thailand, Fireball Beach, Chinese Prototype. Yeah, and that's it. So 4 versions, pretty much all the same. At the end of the day, it's not like any of these are, I should say, not like Richie got any XRS or expanded universe releases, at least not yet. Wouldn't be surprised if a Glow Racer version just kind of popped up out of nowhere. But yeah, guys, my favorite's going to be the Chinese Prototype for obvious reasons. I think it's the best in terms of quality. Looks the coolest. I like the shade of blue the best on this one as well. It's a nice bright shade of blue. All these are kind of muddled and just tainted, tarnished. All right, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye now.
If all's got a man, we both know one day the sun's gonna rise again. So don't pout or